Soul Singh joins us, and I'll tell you what, she's had an interesting life, and she has written a very interesting book. And it's one that just pops out at you. Thank you for smiling. I was thinking about her today when I was walking Guinness, and I was thinking, what a beautiful name for a book. And the story has such meaning, and it takes you in a couple of different directions, that's for sure. So we're glad to have her with us on Author's Corner here on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. Soul, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think it's important. You talk about family, you have family, some kids you care deeply about, and you grew up in a really rough way, but you were able to come out on the other side. Tell the listeners about that because your journey is important because of how you've written this book.
Absolutely. I grew up in Colorado. My mother was a lady of the night. She was a prostitute. Her story actually leads into my story because she was a 14-year-old runaway who ended up getting picked up by a truck driver, and that person turned her out on the streets. And so my siblings and I are all products of her various Johns. I always say that someone's paid $25, and it was a well intended investment. That's why I'm here today. Um, and so my story really is growing up as the product of someone who experienced her own traumas, but then put those traumas onto me. I was the scapegoat of the siblings that I knew. She ended up having 13 children, but I only grew up knowing the three younger than me. So I was the oldest of us four. I really became a parent at a very early age. And so my mother really struggled with drugs and alcohol. She struggled with her own abuse. And so she would take that anger out on me. And in the process, I was made to be responsible for taking care of my younger three siblings. I have two brothers and a little sister. And so when I was 4 years old, my mother actually took me into the mountains to drop me off in the middle of a storm. It was about a couple days later that I was found by hikers, and they turned me over to a park ranger. That park ranger took me back down the mountain and reunited me with my mother. And so I really, at that time, learned to distrust adults because I knew that she intentionally left me, but I was also glad to get reunited with her so I could be there to take care of my younger brothers and my little sister. At the age of 5, and my mom decided one day my mom used to make me sell drugs for her when I was 5. And so unless I sold what she asked me to sell, I wasn't allowed, or my siblings were not allowed in the house after kindergarten class. They were in pre-K, my sister was in a daycare. And so when I gave her the money that she expected me to give her, she sat me down on the floor and said, I'm going to go to the grocery store. And while I'm gone, you better not open this door for anybody. And she never returned. And so at 5 years old, for about a month, I took care of my 4-year-old brother, 3-year-old brother, and my 18-month-old sister. I was 5 years old, and we lived pretty much by ourselves for about a month until someone noticed, obviously my smell and, I'm digging in the trash can to get food for my siblings, trying to keep up the image that I had a parent in the home. Somebody noticed and interventionally contacted Child Protective Services and the police. And so at the age of 5, I went into foster care. Because my siblings and I are all different shades of the rainbow, we were split up. At that time, you really went to foster homes that you favored or looked more like. So my brothers were able to go together. My sister was adopted pretty quickly when she went into foster care. And so I then started the journey of going from foster home to group home, having had 32 different placements in my time while I was in CPS. In that, I really wanted to have a better life, and reading was my savior, to be honest with you. Reading books gave me an insight into different worlds out there that I was not exposed to. It gave me an opportunity to see that there's options in the world opposed to the one that I was living in. And so I divulged in books. I read everything I could possibly read because I was under the impression, young, that the more I read, the more I knew, the better I would be able to set myself up to have a better life than the one I was born into. And so, therefore, when I turned 16 years old, I petitioned the state of Colorado for emancipation. I emancipated. I became basically a legal adult at the age of 16. And so I lived a very adult life. I was very intelligent. I was smart. Like I said, I read a lot of books. I ran track. I was in speech and debate. I just kept myself involved in any and everything I felt was going to set me up for a better life. And also to show my brothers, because I had no more contact with my younger sister, show my brothers that we don't have to be what society tells us we're going to be because of our background. I used my traumas. I used every foster home or group home as a learning experience to help me be an even better person and for others and for myself. I graduated at the top of my class in high school. I went to the University of Texas and decided to study sociology because I really want to understand human behavior. And then in my path, it led me into education. And so now I currently serve as a principal of a school for students with emotional and behavior disorders.
Wow, so that's like coming full circle. You're such an inspiration in the sense that that is so tough. It would be so easy to go down a different path. It would be so easy to give up, and no one would blame you because you had to become an adult, like you said, at 16, but really at 5, you had to become an adult
Yes.
with younger siblings and caring so much about them. What was it that drove you? You said reading really helped, and that probably set you on that path of, as you say, and you were smart because you wanted to learn and be absorbed in the books and escape from what you were escaping from. How did you endure all those different placements then after what had happened as a child?
I really, like I said, I read so many different books, and I remember reading the Little House on the Prairie series, and just I just knew from what I read and all the different fiction and nonfiction books I would read that there was something greater out there for me. Like I did not have to succumb to the circumstances of my life, and I think that was embedded in me at a very early age because, my mother was very abusive. Her abuse could really be more classified as torture. And, if she would hog tie me and bound me and put me in the basement for days, I came this mindset like I knew this was going to eventually end. So I'm going to eventually get out and so I can get back to my brothers and sisters. So scars always healed. So I always knew that with progression of time, that things could get better. And the more I read, I could read people going through their own conflicts and seeing how they came out of those conflicts. And that really just kind of kept me focused on. I always had a saying that, when you hear people say, today's my worst day, this is the worst day of my life. If I just wake up the next morning, I just beat my worst day. And so every day was an opportunity through survival just to get to the next day because I knew the next day had bigger hope and promises than with the day before. So every day wasn't my worst day because I always beat them. And that really became my mindset. Like, yes, today sucks. Today I don't like what's going on, but if I can just endure, I can get to the next day. And then hopefully then I can inspire my brothers because really my focus was helping my brothers not fall into stereotypes and patterns of our past. I needed to be their inspiration. And the only way I can inspire them is to set the example for them that every day is an opportunity to be a better person, to address whatever concerns I had the day before. But I just had to keep waking up.
When people read your book, what do you hope they take away from reading your book and your story?
That we are not our past. We are not the narrative that other people try to put on us. Um, I hope people read my book and find a little girl who fought and strove to be a better person, and that there are people in this world that little nuggets of kindness really can plant the seed for greatness. So my title of my book, Thank You for Smiling, came from a sixth grade teacher who, I was known not to smile. I was known not to have literally any emotion. I had learned how to cut emotion off. And so when she wrote me this note when I was sitting in the back of a classroom and reading a book inside of my math book, she wrote that note, "Thank you for smiling." And that note stirred in me at I was 12. I didn't really understand at the time why my spirit was stirred. But I eventually realized in life that note for the first time gave me my humanity. And so I hope that people can garner from my story that small acts of kindness, recognizing the humanity in the ones that are quite easily invisible in our society, truly can make a life enduring impact on somebody.
Wow, what a story and what a title. Thank You for Smiling. Soul Singh. Get this book. You can get it for a song as a Kindle or paperback on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Visit us at www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com or call us at +1 877 556 0487.